Welcome back to another episode of The Radio Psychs, your premier podcast for insights into everything mental health. I'm Dr. Aaron Haddock.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Yu. We're psychologists who care about people and bringing science to practice.
And we're so glad to have you join us.
Please note that the information shared in this episode is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Today's topic is procrastination.
Hey, Rondi, how's it going?
How's it going? I'd say it's going way behind schedule. I'm just glad we're finally recording this episode.
I know, man. I was beginning to think it might never happen.
Yeah, I think we really stretched the concept of deadline on this one.
For sure. Hey, you ever wonder where the term deadline comes from?
Not really, but something tells me we're about to find out.
You know me well. So it's pretty grim, actually. Back in the American Civil War, the term deadline referred to a literal line drawn around the perimeter of prison camps. This wasn't just any line, though. If prisoners crossed it, they'd be shot, making it a dead line.
If we had a deadline like that for this episode, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, definitely not.
But seriously, procrastination is something that affects so many of us. It's a pretty universal experience, isn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, studies show that up to 95% of us admit to procrastinating at some point, with a whopping 20% of people considering themselves chronic procrastinators.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. And you know, procrastination doesn't just impact our productivity. Research shows that it negatively affects our physical and mental health.
That's right. The toll of chronic procrastination can really impact our well-being, leading to chronic stress, psychological distress, and even lower life satisfaction.
And that's just the start. Research has also linked it to depression, anxiety, poor health habits, chronic diseases, and even risks to our heart health.
Clearly, procrastinating can affect more than just our to-do list. It can impact our entire life.
And that's exactly why we're diving into this topic today. In this episode, we're going to unpack the psychology behind procrastination. Then, in a second episode, we'll share effective strategies for overcoming it.
First, I think we should nail down what we mean by procrastination. It's a word we throw around a lot, but what does it actually entail?
Essentially, procrastination is when we decide to avoid doing something that we know needs to get done by a certain time. It's not just about being lazy. It's about intentionally delaying the start or completion of a task, even when there's a part of our brain screaming at us about the looming consequences.
So it's like knowing you have to submit a report by Friday, but here you are, binge watching Survivor, scrolling TikTok, or rearranging your furniture instead?
Exactly. You know perfectly well that the report won't write itself, and that delaying it might mean pulling an all-nighter later. Yet, your living room's feng shui is suddenly at the top of your to-do list.
Well, I've been there. It's a curious thing, isn't it? We're fully aware of the negative outcomes, yet we choose to procrastinate.
That experience is exactly what the word procrastination captures. It's a word with deep roots, coming from the Latin procrastinare, which means to put off until tomorrow, and the ancient Greek concept of akrasia, acting against our better judgment or lacking self-control.
Okay, now who's the etymologist? It's actually quite a paradox.
It is. And that's why understanding what drives procrastination can help us deal with it. So, Aaron, what's really going on when we procrastinate?
Great question. It might seem irrational on the surface, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how our brains are wired. Prioritizing immediate rewards over long-term benefits is deeply ingrained.
Right. And that's where the battle between our present self and our future self comes into play. It's like having two personas inside us with completely different agendas.
Exactly. Our future self is the planner, thinking about exercising more, eating healthier, or saving money. This part of us is great at making plans and setting goals for long-term rewards.
But then there's our present self, the doer. And let's just say the present self isn't always on board with those plans. While our future self might want financial security, our present self sees a deal on a new phone and thinks, why not?
That's a perfect example. It's rooted in a psychological concept known as temporal discounting. Basically, we often choose immediate pleasures over future rewards.
It's also closely linked to what's called present bias, where our brains prioritize short-term needs over long-term goals. Our evolutionary past has wired us to focus on immediate needs, securing what's right in front of us.
So, we often end up doing smaller, urgent tasks with clear deadlines instead of diving into larger projects that don't scream for attention but may be more important. And there's some really interesting neuroscience behind this.
There is. Studies suggest that we treat our future selves almost like strangers. When we procrastinate, it's as if part of our brain believes the tasks we're avoiding and the negative feelings that come with it are someone else's problems, not ours.
Right. And this ties into the two systems our brain operates on. System one is like the quick and easy route. It's fast, automatic, and emotion driven.
Then there's system 2, which is the road less traveled. It's slower, more deliberate, and really logical. Our present self loves to take shortcuts with system 1, while our future self wishes we'd take the scenic route with system 2 more often.
Which points to the role of executive functioning, which is like the brain's control center. Chronic procrastinators often struggle more with things like planning and organizing, problem solving, maintaining attention, starting and stopping actions, and regulating emotions.
And that's true. But there's actually something kind of comforting about all this. It really shows that procrastination is rooted in these mental processes where we're constantly balancing our immediate needs with what's best for our future.
And procrastination also has to do with how we manage challenging emotions and negative moods induced by certain tasks, especially things that make us feel bored, anxious, insecure, or frustrated, or cause us to doubt our abilities.
That's right. Some have gone as far as to describe procrastination as a form of self-harm, since it's often a way of coping with bad feelings.
So you're saying the task itself becomes a trigger?
Yeah. Think of it like this. You have a task, and just thinking about it triggers automatic thoughts. Thoughts that create feelings of dread, anxiety, or even just boredom. These emotions are so uncomfortable that the immediate reaction is to avoid the task to escape the negative feelings.
So, like, you need to write a report, but you're thinking, I'm not sure what to say, and I'm a terrible writer. Even if I get it done, it's going to suck. And avoiding working on it feels good momentarily because it relieves that discomfort.
Yeah, precisely. We're often not procrastinating because we're lazy or stink at time management. It's an understandable, though unhelpful, attempt to cope with difficult emotions.
But there's a flip side to this, isn't there? The way we react after we procrastinate.
Absolutely. Often, we end up blaming ourselves, thinking we're not smart enough, disciplined enough, or capable enough. These thoughts, known as procrastinatory cognitions, only add layers of sadness or shame, creating even more emotional turmoil and stress that we then try to avoid.
That's the trap right there. When we procrastinate and feel that short-term relief, it's actually a reward. We get a little good job from our brain for avoiding stress, which makes us likely to repeat the behavior. That's why procrastination can turn into a tough-to-shake habit.
Exactly. Okay, so we've delved deep into the why of procrastination, uncovering the emotional and psychological layers that often lead us to put things off. But knowing why we procrastinate is just part of the puzzle.
In the next episode, we're going to turn our focus to strategies, real, actionable ways to overcome procrastination.
You're not going to want to miss this. And if you find our podcast helpful, make sure to like and subscribe.
And we love hearing from you, so drop us a line with your thoughts or questions. Until next time, take care and be well, everybody.
Take care and be well.